Hello and welcome to BA Publisher Basics and Beyond. In this lab, we will go through data extraction using XML data templates. So our objective today is to see how to use data template to extract data. So before we start, there is a zip file available right below the video. You will be able to download it and has all the files necessary for this particular chapter. So before we go further, let's look at the basics. So we have the concurrent request uh, that's tied to a PL/SQL or Java concurrent program extraction method, which will extract the data from the database. The data is then connected to the template using the data definition by the short name, application short name. The output post processor would receive the output in XML format and will merge it with the template to generate the output. So we looked at various extraction methods. The most powerful extraction method is of course RDF based. Then the data template. We have looked at RDF based extraction and PL/SQL based extraction. We also have looked at the XML gen based extractions in the previous chapters. So we are continuing to do with the data template based XML. So this is my personal favorite. It does a lot of heavy lifting, similar to an RDF, but it's not exactly. It's a simple and easy to maintain. So data template, as I said, it's my preferable method of generating XML. It's fast. It provides a lot of features like RDF without its complexity, and you don't need to have a separate software like a report builder. So the main advantage is you can build multiple levels of XML, and it's very easy to maintain. So if you have to make a change in the production, it's very easy to maintain, and you can make the template. You can make the changes on the same day, very fast in production too. So if I have to rank it, this is how I would rank my preferred methods. I would go with the data template, then RDF, XML gen, and PL/SQL. So again, depending on your need, you could choose any of these extraction methods. So for example, if mine is a simple query and I can use a PL/SQL, I would prefer that. But in general, I would follow this procedure or this process to find the best way of extraction. So let's look at a data template. So data template is an XML-based data extractor. It has four major components. So the first component is the parameter. So you can see that the parameters are the component. The second component is the trigger. So you can see there's a before report trigger and after report trigger. The third component is the query, of course, the SQL statement. This is the main difference between the data template and any other extraction methods. You can embed your SQL statement directly in the template. And finally, of course, the data structure. The data structure would reflect the values, the elements in the data structure would reflect what is coming out of your SQL. So let's look at the let's look at the structure here. So we can see that the structure is you have data template. So these are the tags, data template. Within that you have properties. Within that you have data query, which holds your SQL statement. Then you have your data structure, which holds your groups. So let's decode a template here. So we have a template, we have a data template here. Let's try to decode it. First of all, it's an XML based data extraction method. So you would definitely have the XML tags. Of course, the data template is saved as a .xml file. So the first line would be the data template definition, and the default package is the package that can be used within this within this within this within this template for extraction or for before or after report trigger. So there are default properties that are available. You can debug mode on or off, scalable mode on or off. So debug mode on will print the logs into the FND log. So it will print the, if you have the debug mode on, you can see the SQL statement that are executed. A scalability mode on would use the disk rather than the memory. So it's it tries to optimize the performance of the report using this property. Then you have the parameters. You have your SQL statement, and you can see that the SQL statement is encapsulated within the C data. And you have the data, you have the data query begin and end. You can have a before report trigger and an after report trigger. You can have the comments in the same format as an XML. Then you have your structure. You can have your source that's tied to the SQL source. And the group name can be anything. The element name, it can be anything, but the value has to tie it to the output of the SQL. So let's look further. So we can see here the data template has a name, XXTV report, which is tied here. They have parameters, which is temp code type, which is passed on here. You get the group, which is get report. You can see the group here. The element names are defined right here. So this would help give you a better idea of how these are tied together. Let's look at one more time how the data is connected to the template. So we use a special executable called XDOT-EXE that will connect. That is a Java concurrent program that would tie your data template to your data. Your concurrent program would then be connected to your data definition, and the data definition then ties to your templates. So let's look at some naming conventions that are used. So Oracle provides they have very specific naming conventions, but these are the naming conventions that I prefer. So the short name would be XX, NN, or the XX, module name, or how are the naming standards for the company. Then comes the module. Then the next few characters would be used to a short description of the function. Then normally for a report it's daily or weekly, so you put the frequency, then followed by RPT. The program name can be the same, XXNN, AR Daily Revenue Reconciliation Report. So data definition would be, of course, data definition has to match the concurrent program short name, and the report name should end with a DD. It's a good idea to practice this format. Your data template would have the same name as the short name, but ends with the underscore DT. Of course, it's an XML. We will look at the bursting control files in the coming chapters. So the bursting control file will look something like this. Then you have template definition. If it's an Excel, template report / Excel XLS, this indicates it's a Excel output. If it's a multi-language, you can say XLS underscore US. So these are the various naming conventions that can be used. So for a data template, there is no executable that's used. The executable that's used is XDOT-EXE Java concurrent program. So two important points to remember here is the short name. Of course, the executable name is XDOT-EXE when you use a data template, and the format has to be XML. So then you have similar to an RDF, you have the tokens that are available to tie the tokens tie the parameters to the template. Is here the parameter here, token is here. So default package is an optional field which would be used to have your before and after input triggers. So the token would also need to be defined in the package specification if the default package is used. So when you come to a look at the data definition, it's pretty straightforward. The code has to match the code has to match the short name of the program, concurrent program. The data template you'll upload the data template into the data definition. Of course, the application has to match the concurrent program that's defined. So when you define a template, you go to the template definition. It's pretty the same format. The code would reflect what kind of output that's generated. The data definition is tied to the data definition that's defined. The application has to match, and of course you upload the right template to it. So let's start with building a template. So this for this lab, I have two files. So the first file would be used as a starting point to be starting point to build this complete this template. So if you go to the Excel sheet, you have all the step-by-step instruction. So you would start. We would start the XML. You have the data template name, the scalability mode on or off. You can try it in both options. We have two parameters here. With these two parameters, you should notice that how these parameters are used in the template SQL. So if you look here, there's a semicolon. The semicolon is tied. This parameter is tied to the SQL using this semicolon, the name of it. So in the coming examples, we will see how to pass a variable from one SQL to the other. But specifically here, you would see how the template code is used within the SQL right here. And you can also see that the groups, how the groups are defined. So for this lab, we will use this template, and we are going to build on this template with the additional parameters that are required. One quick thing to note is you cannot use semicolon within the templates. It'll cause the system to fail. So make sure there's no semicolon used within the template. So once the template is complete, we would start with defining the concurrent program. Of course, the concurrent program short name, application, executable, the format, all these are important. You add the parameter, make sure the token matches the token name defined in the data template. Then you go to XML Publisher, you go to data definition, click on create definition. You would add the template code and the definition. It should, of course, the code and the application has to match what's defined in the concurrent program. You click apply. You click on the add file next to the data template. You click on browse, upload the file that's completed for the lab. Click apply. This completes your data definition. Let's add the template to let's add the concurrent program to the request group. You submit the request and the output is generated. That's pretty, so as you can see, it's a simple way to generate XML. So before we conclude, let's open the lab Excel file and see what needs to be done there. So as always, the Excel sheet has two tabs. One is step 1 and the other is step 2. So for the purpose of this lab, we would use Notepad++, or you can use any other editing tool. You can even use Notepad, but I prefer Notepad++, which is a good, which is more, it's provided more visually. I like it better. So you would start with downloading the work in process XML file. You can, of course, you can modify the name accordingly. Edit the file. Make sure you set the debug mode on. You're going to add a new parameter. So you're going to add this parameter. You're going to add the SQL statement. Add this to the SQL statement. So the new SQL statement would look something like this. So you're going to add default language, add a few other additional variables or additional outputs, add territory. Finally, add the NVL code to handle if there is no value passed in the parameter. So the final SQL would look something like this. You're going to add the new fields to the data structure. Finally, save it as a lab report /XML. The step 2, you would basically go through the concurrent program definition, and finally register the concurrent program to the request. I mean, once you register, so we have the template being added, concurrent program being registered, template being added, creating data definition, the template being uploaded. So once you do that, upload it to so you can run the program and you would see the appropriate data. So that concludes the data definition or data templates basics. So we will continue to look into more advanced topics using data templates. Thank you.